how is law made? Wanatengeneza namna gani sheria to become impactful to help every citizen who wants to aspire or who has the reflection of all these as far as the Kenya's law is concerned. There are so many other commissions that are assisting every other Kenyan to participate in this. We also have the Council of Law in Kenya, the Kenya Society, and of course the Law Society of Kenya. We have the Kenya law. Now, how is law made right here in the country? We will be joined by Chukwemeka. Omondi, of course, will be joining us in a couple of minutes to really understand the context behind all this. And because he's a law student from Kenyatta University, we'll get a deep understanding and the know-how of the Kenya's law. And in the meantime also we'll be engaging Melvin Otieno, who's also aspiring to become a lawyer. But in the meantime, have you ever been in a situation where you want to achieve something, but because you don't understand how it works or really operates, you end up to mess up? And of course, if you invite the lawyers now to assist you, it becomes another bit of a crisis. But if I'm introducing a lawyer to a particular case, maybe in court, what are some of the things that I need to consider? What are some of the things that I need to do? Of course, it's Social Wednesday. These are the main things that affect the Mwananchi. And even deliberate on this, it becomes so much expensive to them, and they can't be able to maneuver because the aspect of administration ya hii sheria inakuwa noma sana. Remember, how does the Kenya law operates? Even as we speak about the corridors of justice, what will be your take about the justice right here, inclusive of the law that abideth right in the country? There's so many people, both the leaders and the citizens, that have gone against the law. What should be done in order to correct this? And there's a question also we are asking, that how are people breaking the law? Sheria imevunjwaje, na ikiwa imevunjwa basi inakuwa namna gani kuweza kuirekebisha kupitia sheria? Don't forget, of course, we'll also be having an engagement on understanding about the law in partnership with the constitution right here in the country. What is your understanding on the Kenya's law? Remember, you can join us in the conversation on Lookup Television, that is on Facebook and YouTube, and across our website www.lookuptv.co.ke. We begin the conversation. My name is Moses Kate. Stay tuned till the end of time. Now allow me to introduce our very able aspiring law student. Please introduce yourself.
Otieno. I'm an aspiring law student.
Kabisa, nice to have you. Unafeel aje?
Nafeel poa.
Uko fiti?
Yeah.
So leo ni siku ya Social Wednesday, and of course we are conversing about vitu ambavyo vina happen kwa society. One of the best things useme that I want to do this.
Like law to me is just a passion. Like I want to be that lawyer who people can say, amazing. Yeah, when you go to her, you're sure that you're going to get the justice that you deserve. Indeed. Yeah, like I really want to help people in that way. Yeah.
All right, Melo, what are some of the things that you've seen, or maybe while you're growing up, and you've mentioned something about injustice and things that have gone wrong right in the heart of the society, and you feel you can change? When you're growing up, that is maybe in primary or in high school, what are some of the things that happen na ukasema, this is wrong?
Yeah, mostly in the society that we stay in, you find that so many young children are being mistreated. You find maybe the dad had another wife, so now this new wife is mistreating the children. And I've never really liked that, because I believe that all children should be treated equally. So
past, we've also seen so many children they've been mistreated, and because maybe they are minors and they don't have power, it's hard for them to get some help. Maybe how will we say that these children should get help, not necessarily the entire law perhaps ya Kenya, but also they can get help within their environments, their parents? How will their parents help them to make sure that their rights are achieved?
You know, most of the times children mostly, they don't even know that they're being mistreated. Indeed. Because they don't have the knowledge that this is not supposed to be happening, this is what should be happening.
Indeed.
And I believe the first thing that we as a community should do is give the children knowledge. They should know that this should not be happening to me, this should be happening. So when you educate a child to know that this is wrong, they will automatically know that this is not supposed to be happening to me, and this is wrong.
Amazing.
Yeah, and they will report it.
Indeed.
Yeah.
They'll report it. So the first thing is the impression of change, that you see this, then you wanna develop a change.
Yes.
Also to ask as well, if it wasn't your pursuit to law, what other thing would you have wanted to have or to study as well?
To study engineering.
Engineering.
Telecommunication, to be specific. Yeah.
Wow. So what's the bigger one? Is it law or engineering or telecommunication?
Law is, I really want it. Like, it's a passion. You know, when you do something for a passion, it becomes a dream. But when you just study it for studying, it's now a job, and there's a difference. All
right. And of course, in the next few minutes, I'm seeing in studio right about now, Sir Chukwemeka Job will be joining us in just a bit. He's a professional, of course. Now you can learn a few things from him as well. And you mentioned something earlier on about injustice. Ukiangalia hapa Kenya, what are some of the things, if you become now a voice, you'll be able to change?
Right now, okay, we've seen so many politicians being arrested, and like nothing is being done because they have lawyers, and we know the justice system in Kenya is kind of corrupt.
Indeed.
So like, I think we need more lawyers who want to fight for the truth and not just for the money. Yeah, and I want to be that lawyer who will make sure I fight for the truth and make sure that the local mwananchi, they get what they deserve.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Wow, that is impressive. And even as we look at the particular situations in the country, so many people have complained that there is corruption coming in.
Yes.
And we've seen this happening for quite some time. Do you think we are in a better position in the lawmaking process hapa Kenya?
No, we are not. It's like we are going backwards instead of moving forward.
Indeed.
Like, instead of us improving, now people are giving up on the justice system. Like, you see, someone is going through a challenge, but when they think of going to the law, approaching the justice system in Kenya, like, they just know that they will not get any assistance.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, that is amazing. And how you bring it up and as an aspirant or aspiring student now makes more sense. All right, so this one is now Chukwemeka Job. Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Uko aje?
Niko salama sana.
Pia niko fiti. So we were just having a banter with a conversation with an aspiring law student, and I know, of course, you've had some few things zenye amesema as well.
Yeah, I've had some few.
From where you sit, from where do you think there is injustice in the lawmaking process, and there is so much corruption that many will not find justice as well?
Well, a lot of things happen. I would say that Kenya is a country with a constitution, but to some extent,
Indeed.
no constitutionalism. You've talked about lawmaking process.
Indeed.
I'll tell you that during lawmaking process, there is a period where we're supposed to be having the public opinion.
Indeed.
But you see, most of the time, we're not having this public opinion during lawmaking process,
Really?
which leads to injustice. You look at back then, I think June last year, when the public was saying, no, we do not want this finance bill. But you see, the parliament we don't understand. They insisted this finance bill has to pass. But
Indeed.
you see, this is a process where the public opinion should be put in.
Indeed.
It is in the constitution.
Indeed.
During the lawmaking process, after the second reading, the first debate, we are supposed to be going to a committee
Indeed.
stage. This committee stage is supposed to be picking the public opinion, but you see, in Kenya we are lacking that.
Indeed.
Yes.
The opinions go down to those people that have supremacy or have power as well. All right.
Sure. Yes.
So because you're joining us now, I didn't give you a proper introduction. You may now introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Chukwemeka Job Omondi. I'm a law student at Kenyatta University, also a student leader at Kenyatta University School of Law. Law is a passion. I had a saying that if she would not take engineering, she would take law.
Indeed.
Law is a passion.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
Wonderful. So law is passion, and she mentioned earlier on that law is passion. When Melo, when you see people like Chukwemeka right here, and you guys are discussing this, but what is your view on the same? Ukimwona unaona, what do you see?
like I'm happy that there are people who are actually living my dream. Yeah.
Indeed.
And I know that I will join them. Yeah.
You're welcome.
Indeed.
Thank you.
For young lawyers like Melo here, what really do you advise them, as well as wale watu ambao wamebobea?
Wale ambao wamebobea, I'd tell her that the journey is not easy per se. It's not easy because there is nothing that comes on a silver platter. So when she's saying that she needs like to join a law school, reading, number one, so much.
Indeed.
Voluminous books which you will have to read, and also just look at the current affairs.
Indeed.
More you realize that in the law school, most of the exams that we do, they are more of the current affairs.
Indeed.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah.
So you remember when I shared to you this conversation, we dubbed the Kenya's law and the corridors of justice. We just had a snip on the corridors of justice, but now Chukwemeka, allow us to really understand how Kenya's law is made. So how is it brought to life? So this is just an idea. This is just a draft. So that means we have to implement this to become something, a process that so many people will follow. The entire nation will follow it. So how do we draw this thing to become a fundamental thing that everyone must follow?
Okay, you see law that everybody must follow. You see, when you do some, maybe I'd say some units of law, for example, the social foundations of law, it explains what the law is, and it will tell you these are a set of rules which have been placed, and they've been backed by threats by the government. You see the threats, they've been backed by threats by the government. You see, during the pre-independence, we still had laws when the white people were here. But you realize that new constitution of 2010 explains that now brings another perspective of law, human rights, which are mostly based on human dignity, So I'd say that for law, so that all of us of the 2010 constitution, which has really helped us because it has human rights.
Indeed.
From Article 19, I think, to 51.
Indeed.
Now that's the best thing about this constitution, because now it's for the people, and not just the laws which have been put by the government and have been backed by threats.
Indeed.
Yeah.
If you look at the situation right here in the Republic, what will you term as the particular Kenya's law? Where does it stand? Does it benefit the threads that you've mentioned, or benefits the citizens?
Not yet there as a country, but we have improved as a country. That's why I talked about the pre-colonization period.
Indeed.
So we are not yet there, but we are somewhere.
Indeed.
I'll tell you that, because I'll tell you that Kenya, I started by saying Kenya is a country with a constitution, but to some point no constitutionalism. So first of all, I'll say that we've really tried on human rights. We've really tried. We only need to tie some few knots here and there, but as per now, we've really tried.
Indeed. So who makes these laws?
Okay, these laws, we have different sources of laws. That's where we have our laws. First of all, I'll tell you that the Constitution is the supreme law of the country, and that you will find it in Article 1 of the Constitution, where the Constitution says that Kenya is a sovereign country, and people may directly exercise their democracy, or indirectly by choosing representatives. And the Constitution is the supreme law. And any other sources of law which will be inconsistent with the Constitution will be null and void. So the Constitution is the first source of law. We have some other sources of law. People who make law, we have the legislation, that is Parliament. They also make laws which we use. We call them the acts of the Parliament. Yeah, acts of the Parliament. Number 3, we even have religion. We even have religion. The Muslim law, we don't call them Muslim laws per se, but I think we call them the, I'll get it when we are moving on, but we are using the Muslim laws. You see, like the marriages, we also have the Qadhi's court on religion. Number 3, we also have the common laws. These were laws which were being used by the white men a long time ago. But since we were colonized by England, we decided that let us assimilate some things and use them. We also have the case laws. Case laws, these are cases that have already been decided, and we use them as precedents. And you will get it in law. In law, there is something which is called stare decisis, meaning that when a decision has been made by a higher court, the lower courts are supposed to be binding to that decision. For example, okay, people love murder cases so much. For example, if today we were having a murder case and the facts about this murder case are exactly to this other one that is supposed to be solved now, the magistrate or the person who's looking at that case is bound to make a decision that is close to that one that was already made.
Indeed.
Yes, so those are the precedents that we use in our Kenyan laws, and not only in Kenya, in many places. So that's why we'll hear in court when an advocate is giving a submission, an advocate will always be quoting, Your Honor has decided in the case between. We also have customary law, by the way. But you see, that's in Article 2. And it will tell you that in customary law, these laws are supposed to be consistent with the Constitution.
Indeed.
For example, FGM, that is female genital mutilization,
Indeed.
was also part of our of African culture in customary. But you see, we cannot use that now.
All right.
But we cannot use that.
So Chukwemeka, there are also some areas, legal fields, of course. We have different kinds of law, the criminal law, constitution law, civil rights law, and many others. So pertaining, of course, on all those contexts of laws, which one really stands out? Indeed.
That is criminal law and civil law.
All right. Before you get to the expanding of the same, allow us now to ask Melo a little bit. Well, do you know anything about law so far? Have you researched anything? Have you looked out?
Lawyer. She's a lawyer for the Food for Education here in Nairobi. Yeah, and she talks to me like we talk, and she gives me, like, she enlightens me about law. Like, I need to study more. 4 years come first, then 2 years school of law.
Indeed.
Like, it's a process.
All right.
And now when I was looking up at the different types of law, I was focusing more on corporate law and now criminal law. Like corporate business from the corporate, then criminal, now criminal law. Yeah.
Right. So you are encountering your mentor to understand the deep ends of this law. Have you ever asked that person?
And no, I've been sure of law. Like I've never really doubted if I want to do something else other than law. Yeah.
What will you state? Support him. Tuseme umefanya kesi gani Chuku? Mzako umefanya kesi gani? Amefuga nywele mingi. How will you drive that?
Oh, the hair. Okay, in front of a magistrate.
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay, so Your Honor, my client here has been reported to have long hair. But I believe that everybody has their own personality and lifestyle, and nobody should be interfering with his. Yeah.
Hey, so we are sorry, master.
Which is true.
Hey, indeed, that is massive. Yeah. So it means that akienda apige sa ile stuff inamaanisha atakuwa na broader end towards support na kusaidia wale wase wenye wanatafuta hash and earlier. Okay.
I started by saying that criminal law and also civil law are the most like is more of a case which is being prosecuted. Prosecutors are the lawyers to government. So you get that in criminal law, you have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. Beyond reasonable doubt. That is we would say, with the lack of a better term, I'd say that those are the beyond reasonable doubt is I'd say is the limit. With the lack of a better term, because you need to prove that maybe, for example, I'll use a lot of murder cases today. From also in Kenya, we have something called the penal code. and you go to section 2 or 3 of the penal code, you'll find murder, and it explains what murder is. It will tell you that murder is the unlawful killing of a person, and it's also had with malicious intentions. So, for example, for murder, you need to prove that this person did this beyond reasonable doubt. That is what stand out, that in law. You go to civil law. In civil law, we have things like maybe family matters. Apart from family matters, you can have succession matters. Apart from succession, we can also have just things to do with tort law, torts, which deals with compensation. Those are part of the civil law, you see now. And then they are on probability of balance. You don't have to prove beyond reasonable doubt. There just has to be a probability of balance for you to be able to win a case. You just have to prove on a probability of balance. Now, those are the two things that come out. Those are the two things. They are the most two important things in law when they have been. So it depends on what grounds are you charging somebody. On what grounds are you charging somebody? For example, this place might collapse today, and God forbid, we get injuries. When we will maybe going to the courts, we might decide, I might decide to instruct my lawyer to prosecute you on basis of criminal law or on basis of civil law. When I'll be telling them to prosecute you on basis of criminal law, it will be like, you guys, maybe we can charge you for manslaughter. Because you see also in criminal law, there has to be we have to have two things. Number one, the person who is committing the crime must have we have the mens res, something called the mens res. That deals with the brain, deals with the motive, you see. And we also have the actus reus. Was it the person who did that? But since you are not the person, we might charge you on manslaughter. Indeed. Meaning, for example, there is somewhere you guys did not do something. Indeed. Negligence. Indeed. There is somewhere you guys did not do something. So that's why you see maybe nyumba imeanguka Nairobi, the owner is being charged of manslaughter. No, because there was negligence. So, and I might decide to charge you on civil law.
Of course.
I need compensation. I need compensation. So, it is somebody to decide on some other cases. Somebody to decide whether he's going to pursue the case through civil law or through criminal law.
Right.
Yeah.
Sawa, at least just an understanding. Nimona vile sisi na Melo tunasikiza. Alright, so there is also the common law. I think we should adapt to that. Then the Kenyan's legal system is based on the English common law system, which evolved through judicial decisions and custom, right? Alright, so of course there is what you mentioned about the constitution and Islamic law. I think when we come back for the next session, we'll get now an understanding of how now the law and the constitution really abides, how they connect, how they partner to make sure that we have a creative or just a massive impact towards the environments of law and the constitution. So I believe, ladies and gentlemen, you are understanding just a glimpse on the same. Of course, we'll deliberate on all these matters to make sure that you get the digestion that you deserve. This is Melo and this is Chukwemeka. Don't go too far. We're taking a short break. Of course, when we get to the next session, we'll have a divided end towards the constitution and the law.
If you want to have a proper outlook of the economy, then you have to speak to the wheels and gears of the integral businesses in the country.
And I want to be able to make the youths and everybody coming up in Kenya know that this is here locally.
Men and women in the thick of the bust of markets rising and falling, fighting to make their business decisions stick.
I've always lived in my career that I can never be late.
You need to train by yourself. You need to practice by yourself. Then from there you can compose yourself and give kind of services like this.
On season 2 of the Captain's Arena, we seek the inside of the minds, predict the shift in the markets, get inspiration to start and make sense of it all.
Just watch what everybody else is doing and just make sure you're giving back to the society.
This is the Captain's Arena.
How do you start your engine when it is time to drive? Are you a first-time car buyer or want to upgrade your wheels? Do you know your car brand? Is it powerful, stylish, or does it turn heads as you drive past? Well, let's get to know all about wheels on the Daily Drive Show with Otieno as we review all automobiles inclusively, specs and powertrain, interior, exterior, and pricing. Get on board with Otieno for a dose of automobile scene on Lookup TV.
Feeling like unwinding and calming your nerves down after a long week? I'm Nika Kala. Join me on the Nakala Report this coming Friday and every Friday at 8 p.m. only on Lookup TV. At Nakala Report, we turn the insanity into sanity and sanity into insanity.
Welcome back. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We are on the Morning Drift on Lookup Television. And of course, if you're just joining us, we are having a conversation on the Kenya's law and understanding, of course, the corridors of justice. Earlier on, we had mentioned about the injustice that is happening right at the heart of the country. But allow us now to, Chukwemeka, you were mentioning something before we got to the broadcast. Help us understand that, the constitution and the law. You said it's one thing, the aspect on and the law itself.
The constitution is the law. In fact, by saying that the constitution is the supreme law of Kenya.
Indeed.
And any other source of law which will be inconsistent with the constitution will be null and void. That's why I was giving the sources of law. And a good example is that the constitution recognizes customary law.
Indeed.
But it recognizes customary law to a point. It says that our customary laws will form part of our laws, but if only they are consistent to the constitution. And I gave an example of FGM, and I said FGM was part of the customary law during back then.
Indeed.
But you see, it is now repugnant. So it is inconsistent with the constitution. In fact, it is torture. You see, it is torture to the girl child. And this, I started by saying the constitution nowadays is based on human rights, and I gave you from Article 19, I think, to 50, talks about human rights, and this is torture. So, meaning that FGM already, even FGM being a law in customary, it is already inconsistent with the constitution.
Indeed.
Yes, and that's why there is something famous. There is a case between Francis Muraitetu versus Republic. It's an appeal case. You do realize that in Kenya Penal Code, that is between section 203 to 206. The Penal Code, by the way, works with the criminal Article 203. When I talked about murder, it says that anybody who murders will face a death penalty. Sindio? But you see, the constitution under chapter 4 of Bills of Rights talks about right to life.
Indeed.
And the constitution has already said any source of law which will be inconsistent with the constitution will be null and void. Sindio?
Indeed.
Now, there is a problem. The Penal Code says that when you are found guilty of murder, you are supposed to face a death penalty.
Indeed.
But the constitution under Bills of Rights talks about a right to life.
Indeed.
You understand?
Indeed.
So that's why in Kenya, by the way, when you are found guilty of murder, because this is an issue which is being still looked at, because a task force was brought up and the then Attorney General to look into this matter, because there is a problem. The penal code is saying that when you're found guilty, it says that you have a right to life.
Indeed.
That's why we are giving people life sentencing, because it's a matter which is still being looked at. If you look at that case, Francis Muraitetu versus the Republic, and also in South Africa, there is a famous case, S. Makanyane. Look at that.
Indeed.
Explains that.
So of course, in the aspect of the question I've asked, the Kenya's constitution establishes the supremacy of the constitution itself as the supreme law of republic, binding all persons and state organs. Of course, we have the detailed breakdown on supremacy of the constitution. Then equality, other key provisions. Of course, the constitution recognizes the role of judiciary and the independent tribunals in upholding the law. Before we get to an understanding of this, on the weight of the constitution and what should the court do to eliminate injustice in the country. So before we get to that, allow us to ask Melo, what will be a take on the constitution?
My take?
Katiba ya Kenya.
It is good. Yeah, it is good, but now the problem is that the leaders who are supposed to be implementing the constitution themselves, they're going against it.
Indeed.
So how do you expect us to follow a constitution if you yourself as leaders are not following it? Yeah.
Indeed. Of course, ukiwa mkubwa, ulipoanza grow, what are some of the things you are told to consider while studying to make sure that your time ikifika, even if I want to study law, there's some things that I have, like subject guys.
I was told to focus more on, and to focus also on the social part of studies, you know, social history and government, CRE and stuff. Yeah, and I majored on that. Yes.
So ulifanya
CRE, history, English, Kiswahili.
So far
is history. History has taught me a lot. Like I've understood how like Kenyan fought for independence, like the process, how we came to have a constitution, most of the things he has talked about. Yeah.
So history also clarifies about the lawmaking process, right?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. As an aspiring, what will be a take on so far even as we make the processes or the lawmaking process right in the country, as an aspiring, what are some of the things that you unaona ziki-implementiwa and you say that I wish we could have done it this way?
The one that he spoke about in the beginning, he said that we're supposed to be having public participation before making law, but it is not being implemented in the country. Like the public is supposed to be educated first. We want to make this law. This is what is going to happen. Is it okay? Then after that, then they're supposed to give out their opinion, but it's not happening.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So what do you suggest?
They should implement that. It is a process, so don't skip the process. Implement it.
All right.
Yes.
So implementation of the process as well. Chukwu, so the supremacy of this constitution, the power, what does the constitution and the power holds, the power of this particular constitution right in the country to really support the citizen to understand that enyewe katiba has some sort of impact to our lives as well?
Okay. I'll start by saying that the people who made the constitution, there was a committee of experts, the Zamba Gitonga led committee, where Zamba Gitonga was the chair. We had Chesoni Atsang, who was the vice, and also Okuro Court, the secretariat during that time. Otieno Molo was the then ombudsman. They were called the committee of experts during that time, and also just other members who were there. They were very wise. A constitution was made and was also given a defense for the constitution, meaning that you cannot go against the constitution.
Indeed.
That was the defense which it was given in Article 1.
Indeed.
You can't go against it. Nobody. That's why when the president is being sworn in, He's being sworn in with the constitution. And he also swears saying that, I will protect this constitution, making it very supreme, as the supreme law of this country. You see? And basis of human rights, very important, based on dignity. Human rights are based on human dignity, now for the citizens. You see that I started by saying that you see, during those other times, the constitution which we had before was to be followed, strictly to be followed, but was not for us. What was for other people, not for us, for the people in power. But you see now human rights. Human rights, most of the time, when you do human rights in your school, you'll be told that most of the time they are being gone against by the state. You understand? For example, one that we know. There's a time Babu Wino was arrested.
Yep.
And you see, the constitution said that you're supposed to be produced before a court. Under 24 hours, you're supposed to be produced before a court. And when you're not produced before a court, that you are being held incommunicado, meaning you are being held illegally. And this is something which the constitution talks about. But you see, the state is not following that. And that is going against human rights. Because it is not following. It never followed that during that time. Let me not say it's not following that. It never followed that during that time. Meaning that to some point, we are still not there. Just as I said, we are still not there. But we need to tie some knots so that we can be there. But until now, the constitution has protected citizens. You see, during the Moi era, you could not just talk the way you want. Freedom of speech. Bunge la wananchi. Wanazambia president chochote. Not yet there, but we've tried.
Through the power of the constitution.
Through the power of the constitution.
So your time inamaanisha power of constitution haikuwa?
It was not there. That's why I'm telling you, when Moi entered government, Moi was still using the constitution that we were given, that we were left with.
Indeed. So from where you see, you feel like...
Use a simple thing. You see, your rights stops where somebody rights begins. Yeah, that's how my teacher, my lecturer says, your right stops where someone else's rights begins. So pengine unasimama Jacaranda kwa sababu ya freedom of speech.
Indeed.
You can say anything. So you just talk. Who has a right to dignity? But when you start abusing him, words that we can't even speak about, or sio ye peke yake, you abuse your neighbor because of freedom of speech. You talk ill. You see,
we'll come to mtu akikushika ama uko na kesi, there are positions that you can't hold. Pia hata ukitafuta kazi, there are some workplaces not the same. So how on his back?
okay,
as well as so many others.
About the former president Uhuru Kenyatta.
Of course.
Because he was president he was the president during that time.
Indeed. Also, as you speak of the current president, they have so many cases out of the court. Una feel think hapa Kenya sasa tuko na free trial, and if there is not, so what are some of the things that wewe you feel like if I get to that position I can align things?
Honestly, right now, Kenya has been affected so much by politics. The free trial is there for the local wananchi, wale wenye wajulikani sana. But now when it comes to political leaders, especially those who are opposing the current leaders, you find them, tunaona kwa news like every single day, some are arrested, they are not even charged, wanachukuliwa tu wanaekwa somewhere. Like, the free trial is not there for them, which should be there. Like, when you take someone into custody, you're supposed to be having like the charge against the person. You can't just arrest someone because you have the power. Yes.
Indeed. You know, when you speak, I'm seeing the head of the Law Society of Kenya. She's a lady.
Yes.
Kuna venye wanaenda kufanana kiplani. So even as she speaks, there is that a small Faith Odhiambo that is mentor.
Like I want to be, I want to get there one day. Indeed. But I what is it? Like, yes, seeing a lady there, yes, she encourages me. Nikimwona kwa TV, I'm like, one day I will
Indeed.
get there.
Which now brings the question on what will be your take on the voice of the women in the empowering of the lawmaking processes?
It's like, if you compare right now and the previous, like in the previous states, like we are moving ahead, like more women are getting in power.
Indeed.
Like we're being empowered more, which is a good thing. Like wanawake at least wanajitokeza, wanajisimamia, they know their rights. Yes.
In school, did you support any person mwenye unaona ni kama amepigwa na injustice?
I was a prefect. Yes, so like I used to solve most of the cases. Bullying, no, you can't.
All right,
bully
would you describe to us one of the cases that you solved?
There was this time when I was the dorm prefect I was standing for the Form 1 dorms. There was this girl mwenye alikuwa ameibiwa na a cube mate. So you see, like when you find that someone has stolen from you, like umekasirika tu sana, you want to fight that person, but I was like, no, you can't fight, because if you fight, you're also wrong. You're not supposed to be fighting in school. So you're supposed to sit down and talk like adults, because you know, ukifika high school, you have that brain, you're adult. So we sat down, we talked. There was a teacher. He was friendly, so I involved him and we settled the case.
Wow. So ukasikia vizuri sana.
Yes.
Ukuchotea kitu. Ukukupea kitu. So what will be your take on bribes?
Bribes, it is not good. Like it denies so many people opportunities. Like you find that, yes, I have the qualifications, but because I don't have the money to bribe someone, I don't get that work that I really deserve.
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right. So let's get back to the question. You want a good position, you want to have a job, but there is this, conduct, something that you need to seek.
Certificate of a good conduct.
Hiyo.
Okay.
Na imekuwa challenging sana. So but you see many other leaders that are in greater positions, but ukiangalia records zao kuna venye, what happens? Wanaendanga kualign aje vitu zao?
I wouldn't want to talk about the Hague one so much, because you see, you've already said you are innocent until proven guilty. You see, you are innocent until proven guilty.
Indeed.
But for me, if I would be asked, because I wouldn't now want to, because there is nowhere. The law says that okay, there are some places when you are found guilty, like for example. The recent one, you see, the likes of Akina Sonko, the likes of Akina Gashagwa cannot run for office, I think, for some time.
Clearly.
You realize. But when you have not been found guilty, I think courtesy demands, we let the people who are doing their work do their work, and you also do your things. But I'd say, but this is not my point. I'd say that if you have been found with corruption allegations, for me, I would say that someone needs to step down.
Indeed.
As investigations are still going on.
Alright.
So that also kama somebody is still in power, like let me say now, maybe let me give an example, maybe because we can't prosecute the president during his term.
Indeed.
Let me say maybe somebody, just an MP, you are having allegations about some things, and you are the one who is still in that office. And you guys are the ones, you had the other time when Malala was being arrested. Malala even knows the name of that guy, and it is being said they were together yesterday. I mean, where is that case going to?
Really?
Yes.
Too
Okay.
bad.
Where is it going to? You see, so I would say you step down and let investigations go on.
Indeed.
I wouldn't like to talk about Hague, because that is different. That is different.
It's a different case.
It's a different case.
All right. So Killshot is asking, of course, our digital guy is asking, what really happens behind the scenes in Kenya's courts? So who holds the power and how is it exercised? Justice and fairness truly accessible to every Kenyan? Of course, Melo, you feel free to answer that as well, even as Chukwemeka gets asked to agree on the same. So you've understood the questions?
Come up again, please.
All right, so question number one, Killshot asks, what really happens behind the scenes in Kenya's courts? Who holds the power and how is it exercised? And the third question, are justice and fairness truly accessible to every Kenyan?
Okay, yes. justice and fairness, every Kenyan can get that.
Indeed.
I'll tell you that. I wouldn't say that behind the courts who has the power. The power is in the constitution.
Indeed.
The national anthem, justice, says justice be our shield and
Indeed.
defend. That is the national anthem.
But pesa?
Pesa? Well,
Pesa inazungumza.
well, no, I wouldn't say pesa inazungumza, because we are all human beings and we have weaknesses. Yeah, to be honest.
Okay.
Because you see, when you're taking law, and your lecturer would tell you, everybody knows the law. In fact, the law knows that you know the law, not that you know it. That's why, under, I think, under chapter 63 or 64 of the criminal liability in the penal code, it says that ignorance is not a defense, because the law assumes that you know the law.
Indeed.
The law assumes that you know the law. That is number one. But justice be our shield and defender. No. Meaning that the Constitution is supposed to protect us.
Indeed.
That is what we know. But you are a human being. You can, I won't say that we don't have, I won't say that we don't, okay, let me not say that for my security. I might say that the mambo na rock judges, and you ask tutajie, basi sema na nitakwama. So we are human beings, and we can, I'm not saying that it is something which is good. I'm not saying that it's something which is good. These are things happening even in churches, even in mosques, because we're human beings. No.
All right.
Yeah, but we can get justice with the system which has been put. We need to get justice.
Indeed.
Yes.
Ebumele, unaweza sema nini kuhusu hizi stories zote? We have at least 6 minutes to wind up this particular conversation.
You have said we can get justice, you know? Yes. Yes, we can get justice. Like, it is there for everybody, because the Constitution protects each and every single Kenyan. But also, as Kenyans, I think we should, like, kind of respect the Constitution. Let me get to something you're talking about, like the freedom of speech. Like, you know, every single right and freedom in Kenya, it has a limitation. Like, for freedom of speech, it is clearly stated that if your speech is spreading a hate, like you're giving out a hate speech, it is not allowed.
Indeed.
So we as Kenyans, if we want the Constitution to favor us, we also need to respect it. Yeah, but it is true that justice is there for everybody, and the Constitution is just the law. It is there.
Right. You're sitting beside a master. Is there any question that you would want kumuuliza? We give you priority right here on side.
Let me think.
Utamuuliza behind the scene.
Nitamuuliza behind the scene.
All right. Even as we wind up the conversation, so how with the last words, so how do we say that someone has broken a law?
Someone has broken a law. We have the laws which have been stipulated very clearly, and I talked about somebody's right stops where another person's right begins. Indeed. You do not have to go against me, or I do not have to go against you, so that's when you've broken the law. There are a lot of things that might make you break the law. We have many types of law. Indeed. We have the tort law, we have the criminal law, we have the contract law, we have a lot of law. Indeed. You see. So there are a lot of things you can do to break law. By the way, we do law every day. Even I am very choosy on my words. Okay. Because of law, because I don't want to break law. Because if I say something about somebody which is not correct, first respondent, and you as Look Up TV, you will be sued as the second respondent because you are airing it. Yeah. So every day is law. It doesn't.
Let's the government do what it's supposed to do: uphold the law, respect it, and fellow Kenyans also respect the Constitution.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Yeah, because you've seen people asking about justice and fairness. Let's be honest with what we've been given to do, and everything would be okay.
Indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Melo, thank you so much. Let me shake lawyer's hands. Kumoja pia mimi nitabahatika niweze kuwa kwenye safari hii. Sindio? Hata pia nitakuwa aspirant, sindio? Alright, thank you so much. So ladies and gentlemen, this is how we crown it up. And of course, remember this is just but a conversation on the morning drift. And understand you. We find the time to really embrace all this. So see you tomorrow as we embrace Artistic Thursday. My name is Moses Kitch, my director of this particular conversation. And above all, thank you so much, Sairo.
We value your feedback and welcome your complaints about our programming and operations.